Happy Valentine's Day, Don.
Hey, happy Valentine's Day to you, Sonny. How you doing?
Hey, I am doing well, doing well. It's going to be snowing here at my house tonight and tomorrow as well. It's getting another cold blast and a little weather
Yeah,
change, but
yeah, we're definitely feeling that here too. I mean, I don't. They're talking, but not like it, not as cold as it is where you are, but you can definitely feel it. Potential snow in the foothills. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, it's February's still here. It's still winter. We're not out of the woods yet, right?
no, it definitely it is still winter. It's definitely.
There's a
But
reminder.
and my plants outside are going, "Hey, wait a minute now. I know I see some buds out there on
Right,
crocuses." And
right. Yeah,
anyway,
we have these carnivorous plants. They don't like freezing, so we bring them in the garage whenever this happens. We were just about to take them back outside. Now, they have to stay in here a little bit longer.
yeah, carnivorous plants. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They don't eat people though.
Okay, okay, good, good.
But
Well, it is Wonderful Wednesday, happens to
yes.
be Valentine's Day. Here we are, February 14th. And for those of you who don't know, it is Oregon's birthday today. Oregon was actually became a state February 14th, 1859. And I was actually reading a little bit about it. They had applied for statehood and they didn't learn they were accepted for like a month, because we're today. I was telling my mom this morning, I go, we're used to instantaneous news.
Mhm.
Everybody can see and hear of everything and whatnot. And and here, no, this was back in the Pony Express days. This is it was a month later before they were notified that yes, you've been accepted as statehood.
It is amazing to think how instantaneous and how spoiled we become. I love history stuff, and I was looking. I think it was the War of 1812, and the war was declared over, and they fought for like another like 3 or 4 months, right?
Right.
Because that's how long it took for
Right.
mail.
Nobody knew. The
Right? Nobody
news,
knew.
the new yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is funny. Excuse me, my nose. I've got a little itch on there. Um, that we are just so geared to instantaneous. People get. I see people. I don't get frustrated if I get a message on my phone. I don't feel obligated to let talk to you right now.
Hmm.
It's on my time.
Hmm.
This is a tool and it's on my time. And I've see people, I hear people's frustration. I've done this. Well, too, you might send a text or an email and nobody ever even gets it.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
So,
People are overloaded. I mean, some people can't manage that much information. You look at email, how popular and what a big deal it was to get an email 20 years ago. Now, people send you emails, maybe you get a 40%, marketers talk about this. Maybe you get a 40%, 30% response rate anymore from email because people have given up on it. It's just too much.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm seeing from Bobby, she says, I'm sorry to how the state has turned. Bobby says it makes me sad that the state has turned the way it has, and yeah, absolutely. And Haley is responding to that, and it doesn't matter if you have long roots here or shorter roots here. It's a sad state of affairs for the state that we live in, that we're choosing to call home. And I've lived in many states, and my roots are in California. I'm the only person in my family not born in California of my immediate family. And I've lived in many states, and my deeper roots are in Idaho. So, roots run deep and they're important, and it's wonderful having that legacy. But, it is a sad state of what our state is doing. And speaking of our state, the legislation is in the short session right now. And yesterday there was a testimony about a statewide property tax. And the good news is 1,270 people testified against the statewide property tax. And the hearing was yesterday. And as Kevin and I talked about it, you have like 48 hours to still put testimony. So it might be by 5 o'clock tonight. Well, that would be past. Might be by midnight. I don't know. But if you want to go say something, and it is HJR 201, a statewide property tax bill, you can go, you know, submit some testimony if you were not able to do that. And so that's I submitted testimony myself yesterday, and it's a good thing, to be part of the voice, because if the legislators only hear from one side, then that's all they're hearing. They have to hear, pros and cons. If you're for a bill, they need to hear you're for it. And if you're not, then they need to hear the opposition to it. So it's really, really important. So I posted a link to that gives you the testimony there. It has a link on there that you can probably even get to the submitting testimony. And it's then in this article from the Oregon Catalyst, they cite just a couple of like 4 or 5 testimonies that people are not able to pay the current taxes, let alone adding more, or have the state doing a statewide tax, which, as Kevin said yesterday, they want to use for public safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think? I don't think it'll actually go to that, and Kevin didn't either yesterday.
Yeah, well, you could try enforcing the laws that we already have on the books, but but it always amazes me, the insensitivity of government. We're at a time when inflation's literally eating people alive, and this is the time when you want to raise taxes. It's just from that standpoint, it absolutely doesn't make sense, and it's so good to see that people are raising their voice against it, because it's just not doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I've got another one here that I just learned about today as I was looking for different things. And this is from Oregon Live, and it is a bill. It's a proposed ban on banning books, and it says it sparked a firestorm at Oregon Capitol. So check this out. This bill is Senate Bill 1583. It is sponsored by Democrats. And I'm going to actually post a link also of the text of the bill. But go to testimony on this. Oppose it. I recommend an opposition to this, because it is saying that you're not going to be able to ban books out of your school libraries. Doesn't matter on anything. You're not going to be able to ban books for via race, gender, religion, immigration, or sexual orientation, or anything like that. Well, what about ones that are just flat pornography? So in this bill might hurt that. So I haven't done a lot of research on this bill. In fact, I haven't done any research on this bill. It was very quickly that I saw this, and I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. And since the Democrats want it, it's kind of good. Easy to say it wouldn't be a good deal, right?
That tells you all you need to know, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, they will scream loud as you can possibly hear them scream about censorship, when it comes to like books, for example. But we've always had decency laws as well. And if you are an adult, yeah, buy whatever book you want, no problem. But in terms of putting books in places where they be in the hands of minors, we've always had rules associated with the type of, literature that they can get their hands on. And this just goes to show you how much the left hates the family. It's all about the destruction of the family. It's all about the destruction of culture. And obviously, we got to do everything we possibly can to keep that from happening.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It is about the destruction of our culture. And so that's really all I have regarding our short session right now. And it's just, we'll see what we can bring you on Friday. And, but it's good to pay attention as to what's going on, what the hearings are, and providing testimony, because we cannot be the silent majority any longer. And trust me, I believe we are the majority. And there's more.
Hmm. And you
And
bring a good
there,
point. I saw one of the comments. I think it was Lori made a comment about Oregon being beautiful. And I've always thought maybe it's a bias because I grew up in Oregon too, but I always thought Oregon was the most beautiful state in the union. I've been to almost all of them. California and Washington are close, but in terms of physical beauty, there's nothing like Oregon. And the citizens of Oregon, still, as depressing as all of this may seem, we have to remember, and I think to your point, Sonny, it is the silent majority is not like this. The people who are on the bullhorns making all this noise, that's a very small but very vocal percentage of the population that inhabits the loudspeakers of society. They inhabit the universities, they inhabit the media, they inhabit entertainment, they inhabit big corporations. But the average Oregonian is not crazy, and all you have to do is get outside Portland and realize that. If you took out Multnomah, Lane, maybe Washington County, you would have completely red state, right?
oh, 100%, 100%.
Right. Yeah. And here's the good news because of outlets like what we're doing here and people like you all listening, um, it's moving in those counties as well. Obviously, we think it should move faster, but it is moving because they are the victims of the policies of these people, more so than the rest of the state. I mean, you look at the zip codes, they're just getting hammered. You look at Southeast Portland, it is an utter disaster, right? And it's because of the policies of the left. So the more they promote stuff like this, as horrible as it sounds and feels, people don't want that stuff. They really don't. Even your JFK liberals, if you will, they don't want their kids looking at porn in the library.
Hmm.
Um, so we just need to keep that in front of them. So when they go vote, just remember the party that wants your kid to look at porn in the library, wants your kid to go get chopped up without your permission, wants your kid to get contraceptives and abortions without you knowing about it. That's that party. And we need to hang that sign right around their neck.
Absolutely. And I do believe that we outnumber them. When you take in those that are conservatives, I'm not talking Republicans, I'm talking conservatives in this state. And if all the conservatives would vote in the Republican ticket, we can turn this state around. We truly can. There's a lot of not people that are not registered. They're in the NAV category because we have motor voter registration here. And so it is, I think with that, those that are in the independent party that think that's a real good option that are conservatives. And yet
Yeah,
in Oregon, in the independent party, that is a Democrat. That's
it's just
another,
yeah. Get outside, party, and just
yeah,
vote decency. What's decent?
yes. Vote
Vote
your
for
values.
vote your values. Vote rule of law. The majority of people don't want Marxism. They don't
No.
want Black Lives Matter. They don't want their kid to sing the Black national anthem every time there's like a football game. That's another story later, right? They want unity, not disunity.
That's a good segue.
Yeah, it is. Didn't plan that either.
No, it's okay. Maybe before we go there,
Mhm.
we do have another story that I'm going to post right here, and that was something that we were talking about. It has to do. Um, Don brought it to my attention about this George McCleary and able to just steal a house in Oregon, in Portland.
Yeah, if have you posted that so they can
I
find
did. I posted the link.
that? You really have to click on it and watch it to believe it. It's kind of hard to describe, but short version, this person basically videoed himself describing how it's legal to basically how you can legally steal a house in Portland. It is shockingly easy. Basically because we don't enforce law is what it boils down to. And I think what he describes is a person looking to rent a house. It goes in the market, is advertised as a rental, and the person just goes in there. He gives a video of how, and all of this is available. Thank you, YouTube. They don't ban this sort of thing, showing you how to disable what do you call those locks that landlords use if you want to go look at a house. Um,
Oh yeah, those door lock things.
right. So you can find on YouTube how to do that. Get the instructions for how to do that.
We're
Open the
not
door.
promoting that though, by the way.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. But by the way, you can basically figure out how to make a nuclear weapon on YouTube.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh, yeah.
apparently it's all this criminal stuff's on there. But if you say something they don't like about COVID, you get banned. Facts are a whole nother story. So he shows you how to. They show you how to do that. You get in the house and you just camp in there, and from there it goes on in terms of showing you how the law can't do anything. And in fact, you wanted to make.
Well, his video has frozen. I don't know if it's on my end too. It looks like I'm still going on, but okay, I lost you there for a minute. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it's absolutely stunning that you can make money on landlords, and you wonder why there's such a housing shortage in Portland.
Yeah, you should not be able to go into, and there are people that are actually will rent a place, advertise a home or an apartment, mostly a home that is not theirs. They're not lawfully able to rent it. Advertise it online. You go there, unsuspecting soul that you are, and sign a lease, pay the person money, and they hand you a key, and you're living there, and you think you actually have rented a place. But there's people doing this on purpose, knowing that it is a civil matter. It's not a crime, and it should be grand larceny, as it says in this video, that it should be absolutely grand larceny. Oh no, it's just a domestic dispute here over contract. Well, wait a minute. As a property owner, you're going, I never signed any contract. Show me the signature, officer. Here, look, here's my signature. It quite frankly should be that easy to solve that dispute, but it isn't. And legislators should be doing something about it to make it unlawful to let this go on as a civil suit and not be criminally processed.
But you can bet your bottom dollar in a leftist controlled legislature, you're going to do everything possible to hurt the rich landlord, which of course the long term basically hurts the poor because they're the ones who are going to be out of an opportunity to get housing because more and more people are going to pull out of the market. I know a number of people who had houses in Portland they were renting and just decided it's not worth it anymore and just left the market. Just sold and got out because it's just too much risk. It's just too much risk.
Yeah. So, Bobby, you say, isn't there a law now that they can camp in your yard with no problems? Not unlawfully. They cannot. It's they have a right to rest only on public property, not on private property. So if you don't want them on your property, they cannot stay there. And they are trying to, the legislators are trying, and especially in cities, some of the cities are trying to loosen it, that you can have somebody in an RV in your property. You can put one of those tiny homes in your backyard, and they're relaxing some of the codes and the density that is in neighborhoods in order to allow more of that to happen. And I think it's New York or somewhere, a mayor had said, oh, you know what? You should just let them live in those empty, let the illegals live in the empty rooms that you have. Let them be a roommate.
Yeah, it's never in their neighborhood though. but to Bobby's point though, here's the thing. It doesn't really matter what the law is if you don't enforce it. I mean, there's laws against
True.
stealing, and they steal like mad. Crime is going through. There's laws against carjacking. Carjacking's gone through the roof. There's laws against speeding. People racing the freeways all day long. Why? Because at the bottom of the morality scale, those people don't care about law. The only thing that keeps them in check from the only decision-making apparatus they have is they run that through what's the probability that I'm going to get caught and then do time. And if that probability is low for either of those, if the probability is low for getting caught or the probability is low for doing time, or in the case of Oregon, low for both, so it doesn't matter what the law is. If they camp in your yard, let's say I'm going to make this, let's say you're an elderly couple. Let's say you're in Southeast Portland. People camp in your yard, you call the police. And there's 4 or 5 people camping in your yard doing drugs, and you're like older, maybe you've got some infirmities. What are you going to do about it, by the way? You're not going to do nothing. The only thing that you can do is pull out a shotgun and take care of it yourself. And then guess what? The law enforcement will be all over you for doing that.
I will dial 911 and try that first.
Right.
Let's say
you
because
did all that.
I live in a small community, so I have I think a chance of a better response. Over in Portland, I can't speak to that.
yeah, you probably aren't going to get much of a response.
Right. Right. And you do have the right to kick somebody off of your property. You don't have the right to shoot them if they're
Mhm.
not threatening you, you
But they
know.
choose
So we're
not to
not
leave.
advocating
Uh,
for that either,
No, but
you
they choose
know.
not to leave. What are you going to do? You don't get to do anything. That won't get you in trouble. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make it difficult. And speaking of lawlessness, I'm posting what I think is a lawless situation right now. And that is ran across this that the Biden administration is providing veteran medical resources to illegal immigrants. And I'll tell you, it is Senator from Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, who is speaking about this. And he is introducing a bill that's the No VA Resources to Illegal Aliens Act. Hello, it shouldn't even go there. You know, the resources for the veterans resources speak exactly to where it should go. Veterans, period. And so it's saying that the lines at the VAs are getting longer, and and Biden is going, it's okay. We can feed these people and give them medical care and whatnot, and using VA funds and VA community care systems. This is wrong.
Yeah, this is such an obviously asymmetrical Marxist attack that we're under. I mean, the left has literally declared war on this country, and the only way they can win is to create division. And everything they do is designed to create division. The whole thing with the open borders, for example, is to do exactly that. If you look back historically, at the end of World War One, all those empires that collapsed. I'll speak specifically to uh, the uh, the Habsburg Empire, the Ottoman Empire. Those places spoke like 12 different languages, and there was constant ethnic strife, and that is a recipe for for Marxism to take hold. And you get people against each other, and everything they're doing is designed to do that. You're cratering the system by overloading schools, overloading hospitals, overloading the infrastructure with illegals, and that's intentional.
Well, it is intentional, and so I'm glad that he's paying attention to it and putting hope, bringing a bill forward with that. He did. Senator Tuberville also went on to say that the VA system is having a hard time dealing with the 19 million veterans across the United States. So you
Mhm.
add another, 10 million illegals. That's one. They should not even be going there. We've heard it here. Let's stop them at the border. I pray when Trump gets in that the deportations will begin, and I guarantee you this would be shut down immediately. I feel for people wanting to better their life,
Mhm.
but I do not feel for them when they are breaking the law.
Yeah, and the reality is we're not helping those countries. We'll use Mexico as an example.
Yeah.
We're not helping those countries by allowing them to have an outlet for their poor. If those people were forced to stay in their country, they would. I want to say riot. They would basically be protesting in the streets to change their own government to fix it. There's no reason in the world Mexico should be a poor country. We're talking resource-rich countries. All those countries in South America,
Yeah.
they're resource rich. I mean, I think Mexico is like the eighth largest oil reserves in the world. How in the world is Mexico poor? It's because their government's even more corrupt than ours. It's hard to believe, but but
Well,
it's
yeah. Well, America has gone by the way of Mexico in that regard of corruption. But I will tell you, it's it's not the Mexican citizens that are coming across this border. It's citizens from around the world.
sure.
It's citizens from the other Central American countries and South American nations. We're having record Chinese people of single military age, Chinese people. Many from Africa are coming here that are military age men as well. This is all by design, and it's enrages us, of course,
Mhm.
because We have the laws on the books, to your point, but if they are not being enforced, this is what happens. And they need to be, which is why we have to, it is imperative in our nation that we get Trump elected. Imperative.
Yeah. And here's the thing: people will say things like, "It can't possibly get worse." Oh, but yes, it can.
Oh, yes.
you
Oh,
know,
yes, it can.
and we don't.
And tell me it can turn around,
And it can.
because
That's
it's
true.
very easily can get turned around. El Salvador. El Salvador is the home of the MS-13, and they have got just re-elected the
Mhm.
president that has picked all them up. They are having mass trials of 500 to 700 people all having a trial. Wham bam, there you go, incarcerate them,
Yeah.
and
And
so,
here's
and
here's the thing: it's not these criminals are not a huge percentage of the population. It
no,
may
they're not.
feel like that because it gets all this noise in the media,
Yeah,
but you drive around your street, you look around your country, you look around the neighborhood you're in. It's generally Americans are so unbelievably, free and happy and prosperous. It's unbelievable. You look at the media, you don't see that, but you just look around. It's incredible. In spite of all this stuff they're doing to destroy us, they haven't succeeded. That doesn't mean we can rest on our laurels. We've
oh
been just
yeah,
given a gigantic wake up call.
yeah,
But to portray things like they're, that it's already over is simply not true. In fact, that's what they want you to think. So you'll just
true.
quit.
True. So we do have people fighting for us. They're not all crooked, although sometimes we're thinking that they are. They look like they are. But Speaker Johnson today had said that the House won't be forced by this Senate on this Ukraine bill. And, they've not passed it. And that's a good thing, what they've got in it. And so, he is doing what we, the conservatives, have asked of him. And, McCarthy was ousted because he wasn't willing to stand up. And we have to have those that we are electing across the state, across the nation, to represent us. They have to have a backbone to
Mhm.
say no, this isn't right.
Yeah, the will to not be liked. That's what you need to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I don't we have you had something else there, didn't you?
Oh, there was a couple of things I thought we'll just put these in your very interesting file, right? But I saw this in the publication Copy COVID. We talk about articles from there periodically. But I thought this guy came up with something that was really interesting. Remember a couple of years ago, we had all these infrastructure things going on, so food factories catching on fire, farm things blowing up, that sort of thing. And here was a read I had not thought about. So here's a look. So you take a look at. I'll just give you a couple examples. There was a refinery in the Midwest in Indiana where there was a transformer failure, major power outage, smokestack fires, this sort of thing, right? Then 2 days later, in Volgograd in Russia, a similar sort of thing happened at a plant there. They think it was a drone attack that caused a fire, and another plant that happened there. Then, like a few weeks later, there was a fire that broke out in an oil refinery in Krasnodar in the Soviet Union. And then, like 12 hours later, there are multiple fires in an oil refinery in Pennsylvania. The point is this: this person thinks we're already at kind of a low level war with the Soviet Union. And I was thinking this was your basic Antifa type activity. It may not have been that activity, that these things would happen, and they're all at about the same level. So an oil refinery happens here, an oil refinery happens there. An electrical facility goes there, and then a few days later, electrical facility, and they're all about the same size too. The kinds of things that a government would do. I thought that was really interesting. And I've always thought all along that there's no way that Russia was going to let us get away with blowing up that pipeline. Uh, just no way. We don't know when or where or how they will. The place of their choosing. Let's put it that way. So I thought this was just kind of interesting.
Well, I did too, and I went, wow, a little tit for tat happening, as and I'll tell you, I don't. Every time I see about an oil refinery or a food processing plant being destroyed or damaged. I I feel like there's espionage happening.
Mhm.
I do. That's
Oh,
just
yeah. I
that's
mean,
where my mind goes. I don't feel like it's either we're hearing more about it, but I don't feel like that's the norm. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
well, yeah, and you got to think this. So look, the rest of us are playing checkers. These people are playing multi-dimensional chess. I mean,
yeah,
that is,
yeah.
and you have to think like that. I mean, my wife and I were talking the other day about, so why do these people, why do they hate Putin so much? Why this morbid fascination and hatred with Putin? Because when you think about it, how is he more evil than all these other leaders that we've seen over the last 10 years, right? I'm not saying he's a saint, but I don't see where he's any worse than a lot of these people. And I think at the end of the day is because the one world government people can't control him. I think they hate Putin for the same reason they hate Trump. Now, isn't that interesting, right? Because they
Right.
can't control him. And remember, Putin put his foot down on all this, LGBTQ stuff. They're not doing that stuff, and same with the countries in Africa, and they hate them for it. Now, the ones in Africa don't have a whole lot of power, if you will, in terms of what they can do on the world stage, but Russia does, and because Russia, like Trump, Putin, like Trump, wouldn't bend the knee. I think that's why they hate his guts. Um, I just,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too there's so many things that we don't know. There's so much behind the scenes that we don't know of
mhm,
what's driving what. A lot of research to do, and I agree with you in that Putin is not bending the knee. I mean, look, they're with BRICS. They're trying to break the US dollar's domination and might very well succeed at that. There's a lot of countries that are lined up against that.
my guess is that Trump and Putin would get along fabulously if Trump got elected again. They'd sit down and negotiate a deal. I mean, you heard Putin. I don't think he was lying. He's trying to get NATO, which is really us, to come to the table.
Yeah.
You're not getting Ukraine. Sorry.
Funny enough, today I read that Putin had endorsed Biden or hoped, not necessarily endorsed, hoped
Hmm.
Biden would get reelected.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's a psyop, but who
Right. Yeah,
knows?
no, exactly. I'm not sure I'm believing that. They can
I
say
don't think,
that
I don't
all
know.
day long.
Hey,
As long as long as Biden's there, he's at war with Biden because
right,
Biden represents the Brussels and the one world government crowd.
right.
That is who I think Putin's against.
I think so too. I do believe that he is against the one world government, and that group wants to destroy
Mhm.
anybody who is not for them and not willing to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Putin's a nationalist.
yeah, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey, I want to change the subject here a little bit. I saw this story out of Southern Australia. A South Australian court rules that employers who mandated COVID jabs can be held liable for injuries.
Ooh, that is really huge.
It is huge. And the businesses, in reading this article today, it's an analysis out of a Life Site. I'm going to paste that down here. And in reading this, the businesses said, wait a minute, how can we solely be liable when we are following a state government directive? And so a lower court had ruled that they were, and a higher court, an appellate court, had said, ruled that they weren't, and an appellate court ruled that they are.
Hmm.
And so there was this youth support worker won an appeal to the state after it had, because he was mandated to get his third. He had to have the jab, and
Hmm.
his third jab is when he ended up with pericarditis. And so he said, I didn't have it before,
Hmm.
then I got it. and his doctor said it is from that shot. So, I think it's huge. I think things are happening for that to bring us all relief. And I've seen someone else calling for those that caused this to be uh, tried. We need some arrests on that, and I think this is all good. There's more coming out all over the world, all over the world. There will be, I pray, a day of reckoning
Yeah,
for
I just
everybody.
yeah, I don't know how you can keep that wall against the truth for much longer. I mean, it's just the evidence is just overwhelming. Just the anecdotal evidence is overwhelming. The common sense is overwhelming. There's just
Yeah.
too many people dying or getting sick for young people for no reason.
Yeah, there's so many studies out now that prove the damage that they're causing, and more scientists, true scientists, not the not the media scientists, the true scientists, are coming out and saying we have to shut this down, we have to stop it. So just wanted you to you
Mhm.
know be aware of that. Be aware of
Yeah,
that.
it's funny. It's kind of reminiscent of what happened with the with big tobacco in the 50s, when they kept saying that it wasn't tobacco causing all these problems, and they kept lying and obfuscating and trotting out people who were pseudoscientists or scientists who were on the take, until finally it became so overwhelming that the whole thing they just gave in. But people forget that took like probably about 20 years.
It
Uh,
did. It took a long time. Yeah, tobacco kept saying it's not addictive. And then
yes.
come to find out they were adding something that was making it addictive. It's
It's
not addictive.
just a criminal enterprise, right? You know,
Yeah,
and
and this is where when business to provide a service to people that they want to do it is one thing, but
mm,
to connive them and lie to them all for the sake of the mighty dollar,
mhm.
that is wrong.
It is 100% wrong. I mean, people
Yeah.
deserve to know if you're
Yeah.
gonna take cigarettes, you should know here's the potential risks, and if you're gonna get the vax, you should know here's the potential risk. Uh,
Yes, and so, you recall, speaking of the cigarettes, we had the Surgeon General warning, right?
mhm.
But nothing was shown in there that there was something added to make it addictive. And yeah, what you know what? If you're, in fact, they had all of the. I remember the commercials showing all of the carcinogens inside that when they did the studies, right?
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
this whole a showing all of that, a graph
Mhm.
showing all of that, and it was
But
going,
here's the thing. The
gotta do
difference is you had a media then that was doing its job. It was doing investigative reporting, that sort of thing. We have a media now that's defending pharma. They won't report
yeah,
stuff.
right. They won't.
Um, yeah, and I think
Yeah,
it's because they're on the take.
they
They've
are.
been bought off.
They are. And as we've talked before, when you have the media going after they are the pharmaceutical company is doing the commercials for the media, then who controls whom?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
that's a given. That's a given. It's like going, oh my gosh, that drug again, a new drug.
yeah,
Yeah,
you turn on the TV and every other ad's a pharma ad. This is recent.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
you didn't see this 15 or 20 years ago.
No,
Um, and I suspect the reason is so they can control the dollar and control what the media narrative is going to be. Because if you don't
yeah.
say what we want you to say, we'll just pull our dollars away.
Did you have something else, Don?
I think this one really irritated me. By the way, I don't. I think I've mentioned this. I gave up on the NFL and the NBA probably 5 years ago because the flag kneeling just made me lose my mind. I was not a pleasant person to be around. And one of the things that I just find so obnoxious is this Black national anthem business. So I missed the Super Bowl. I didn't even know who was in the Super Bowl until the day of the game, and then I Googled it just to see who won. But a friend of mine was telling me at work the other day that she went to a Super Bowl party and they did the Black national anthem, and I was really surprised at my reaction. I mean, I was so disappointed, angry, all of those things, and I just don't know how so many people can stand for this. Now, here's the good news, however. I heard though that a lot of people just ignored it when it was being played. So, it wasn't like people stood at attention. They kept getting their popcorn. They kept talking. They kept walking around. People just like kind of blew it off, which made the leftists go nuts, of course, that it was being blown off. But I just find that the whole first of all, we go to these games so you can forget about all of that stuff, right? It's an opportunity to have national unity. The Super Bowl used to be like a national Fourth of July party in the
Yes.
wintertime. That's what it was. And
Yes.
everybody loved it. And here comes the left. There can be no fun. There can be no laughter. There's no joy in Mudville when it comes to the left. We're going to like pimp messages to you, whether you want to get it or not. And that's what they're doing with this. It's completely divisive. There is no black national anthem. There's the national anthem. That's why it's called the national anthem.
That's right.
You know, I just, it makes me nuts. They keep promoting this and that people keep watching it anyway. But that's, anyway.
Well, I have to say, I didn't watch it. And when they all started taking a knee, I quit. I quit. I won't give them the time of day. And a black national anthem is just to divide us. That's all it is to divide us. We are one nation under God, and we
Indivisible.
have one national anthem, and, that's it. Because when you start the division, where does it end? You
And here's
know?
the thing with the left, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. This goes back to, you look back to when we were kids, and every day the Pledge of Allegiance, you know, my country, tis of thee, we saw those things, and we let them take those things away, right? We let them take away prayers in school. One at
Yeah.
a time, oh, that won't be such a big deal. Oh, okay, give them that. They won't cry very loud. And, hey, look, we gave them all that stuff, and look where we are now. Now we're wondering whether they can chop off our kids or not, right? They will never stop. And we should have said no then.
Right. Right. And that's why, it's we have power with our purse. Major power with our purse. And if you don't believe it, look at what happened to Bud Light and
Yes.
Target.
Hmm.
Power with the purse. So
Yeah.
turn it off. I'm not promoting them. And you know what? I gosh, back when I lived in San Diego, heck, I used to go to the Chargers games. I used
Mhm.
to go to the Padres
Oh,
games,
yeah.
and I like doing that. I enjoy the sports,
Mhm.
but
Yeah. I was once upon a time, maybe I don't want to say I was the number one fan, but I was up there as a kid. I never missed football. And now I don't even know who's in the playoffs. Haven't watched a game
yeah.
in 5 or 6 years. Just don't care. And I'm sure I'm not alone. Um,
No, no, I think there's a lot of people that are like us that are going, nope, no thanks. When you want to bring us all back together, then here we go.
mhm.
That'll be good.
Yeah. Oh,
So
I must mention one thing because I think this is something for the folks, the audience to watch because I think it's going to be a really interesting thing coming up. Are you all familiar with Caitlin Clark? Do you know who Caitlin Clark is, Sonny?
no,
So Caitlin Clark is she plays basketball for University of Iowa, and she is absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best. I'm not gonna say probably the best women's basketball player that in history. And she's about to make break the record for the most points scored over a 4-year career in college basketball. She gets paid $1 million to play college basketball, right? I mean,
wow,
the woman is phenomenal, but it, what she's headed in for is an absolute firestorm. And you got to start following this. Whether you're a fan of women's college basketball or not, doesn't really matter, right? You got to follow this because it's such an interesting cultural statement about where we are. A little background. Caitlin Clark is white. She's clean cut. She's got no tattoos. She's Christian. She's Catholic, right? You see where I'm going with this, right? If she goes into WNBA, which she most likely will, she's going into a league which is not just mostly black. They're leftists. They're mean. They're nasty. They're tattooed. They're lesbians. I mean, all of that, right? And I say that the last part, not because there's anything, it's not the lesbian part that's the issue. It's the fact that they promote it that's an issue. And the women who are straight in that league will tell you when they can say so behind closed doors, it's like they're in prison, right? So she's going to be headed into that mess of stuff. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the media treats it because that league's been losing like millions of dollars. The only reason it's in existence is because the NBA pays to support it. And here's an opportunity because this woman is so popular. There's her jersey sales, her number sales, fans come out. There's sellouts everywhere she goes and plays. You can see where this is going to head going into the WNBA. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. So if you're not following that story, you should. It's going to be really interesting. There's
Cool. Okay. I
a lot of
will.
noise being made about it already.
Well, that will be interesting. That will be interesting to watch. And um, this is the thing. Things can change. They can change, and it can start with one. Quite frankly,
Yeah,
it truly, truly can, because the woke agenda is not working. People are turning away from it.
yeah.
In fact, I saw where a women's boxer,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "I'm not going to compete." She was going for the championship, and they put a man in there
Mm-hmm.
pretending to be a woman, and she says, "Nope, walked out, not doing it."
And that's what needs to happen, is stop playing their game.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. I went, "Oh, good for you,
yeah,
good
and
for you." Well,
more
cool.
women.
Thanks for bringing that to us, Don.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fascinating one, to see. We're going to find out who has courage in the media or not, because she's going to come under assault like no one's ever come under assault. On the other hand, she could be the person that single handedly saves the league, because they're not making money. But with a player like her, think of what Michael Jordan did for the NBA when he came in, or
Right.
think of what
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I
yeah,
mean, there's
yeah.
so many great players.
Uh,
And
But
yeah,
when
exactly.
yeah, when Magic and Bird
Hmm.
came into the league, it was a league that was struggling to make money until those two came along. Um, she can do the same thing to WNBA, but how are they going to handle that? Because there's going to be massive jealousy and massive hatred because of who she is. I mean, Christian, clean cut, girl next door. Hey, straight. It's going to be a war. And how do you manage that? So, if you're looking for something cultural that's going to be really interesting, take a look at that.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
you'll get to see a phenomenal basketball player too.
there we go. There we go.
Oh,
And it wasn't very long ago that college profession sports could actually get paid. You
right.
know,
Hmm.
it wasn't very long ago that they allowed that to happen, because you used to be penalized. I think you couldn't be in the Olympics if you had been paid
Oh,
in college or something
right.
like that, right?
Oh, yeah. A lot of
And
careers got ended early because of that.
yeah, yeah. Wow, cool. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, sure thing.
Hey, well, there's our good news story for the night, and I think that's a good note to end on, Don.
I think it is. We did it in 50 minutes, Sunday. That's like
We
pretty
did.
good.
We were talking. Maybe we need to shorten our show up. I don't know, but we're just rolling along. And thank you to our audience. You know how to share this around, and thank you for sticking with us. And have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day. Hoping everybody had a wonderful Valentine's, and be kind to the one you love.
Yeah, I got to go next door and steal the neighbor's rose so I can give one to my wife.
You might want to let your neighbor know
Yeah,
you're doing that.
hello.
Do they have roses blooming? Mine are all dormant, Come
Yeah,
on
yeah.
now.
It's breaking and entering.
All
All right.
right. Thank you, guys. Good night.